Most people use ChatGPT for output, for content creation. They ask a question and they want ChatGPT to provide an answer. But what if you turned it upside down and instead had ChatGPT ask you questions? What would the output look like? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this week's podcast episode. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to the Amplify Your Authority podcast. I'm Marisa Shadrick, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. We're going to talk about ChatGPT, but we're not going to talk about prompts for output and for content creation or social posts. We're going to turn things upside down, and we're going to talk about ways that we can have ChatGPT interview us to extract all that knowledge that's in your head and to be able to ideate and discover new paths, discover new ways of doing business. So let me pull my notes here. And this is something that I have been doing, and I'll tell you what triggered this. I am writing a book, and there's a lot in my brain because I'm not a spring chicken, right? I'm kind of a seasoned person. You might call me vintage, but I was struggling to just create the premise, the fundamentals for the book. I was trying to figure out which way to go with it. And so I decided to have ChatGPT interview me and just ask me questions that I can just answer. Now, you can do this on the desktop version, or you can do this with your phone and just have a conversation with it. But I was amazed at the information that came out because it began to summarize and sort of reword what I was saying. You know, when you're trying to explain something and somebody rephrases it for you and says, "Oh, I get it. You're trying to say this," and it's spot on. That's exactly what was happening. And so I started implementing this interview style dialogue with ChatGPT with other things. And I found that it was very, very helpful. So when you begin to use ChatGPT as a thought partner rather than a content machine, you'll be surprised at the output that you get. For example, instead of having ChatGPT create a social post on, say, mindset. Maybe it's about limiting beliefs, and you say, create a social post with 3 points about limiting beliefs and how to turn that around. You're going to get some output, but it's not going to be unique to your voice, and it's not going to have your proprietary information. But when you take ChatGPT and instead have it ask you, for example, you could say, ask me 5 questions that would help me uncover a story related to limiting beliefs. So you begin to maybe even use stories from your own life if that was something that you overcame. And typically most people that have a business, whatever they teach on is something that they've gone through already. And then as you're answering, these nuggets begin to show up. Things that you didn't think about, things that weren't top of mind. The questions help you go deeper and extract those things that you've forgotten about. It's a great way to create copy that is unique and authentic to your voice. So I'm going to share 3 ways that you can do this. So this is going to be very short and simple. So the first way is reframing ChatGPT as a personal interviewer and not just a content machine. So think of ChatGPT more as a tool or a partner that can be used to interview you and draw out those insights you didn't even know were there. When you position it this way, ChatGPT becomes more of an excavator. So here are some examples. You can tell ChatGPT when you're starting a dialogue, a conversation, and this isn't really about prompting, it's just about having a conversation with the tool. So you can say something like, pretend you're interviewing me for a TED Talk on my business journey. What would you ask? And so it begins this conversation with you, and that's when you can really begin to extract some valuable insights, things that you wouldn't have normally maybe written about because it prompts a memory. Another thing you can say is ask me questions that would help me create a personal origin story for my brand. This is so important to have your origin story. Now, in my private membership, we have custom GPTs that I created where people can walk through, and the custom GPT will walk them through some questions to create their brand story so they can have their business profile, audience persona, and so forth. But you can do this with ChatGPT. You can ask it to ask you questions that would help you create the personal origin story. So this way you go deep and you become more relatable because you're talking about your story, why you started the business that you started. And it becomes more authentic and people will resonate with that. And guess what? That's going to build trust. So another example to use ChatGPT as a personal interviewer is to simply say, you're a podcast host, interview me to uncover what makes my message unique. Now, we all know that there's lots of people that teach about the same thing, but the way you teach it is different and unique. You want to extract that. What makes you unique? What sets you apart? What makes you different than your competitor? And you can have ChatGPT ask you questions to uncover that. When you begin to do this, your brand message is going to be so powerful because it's no longer coming from your head, it's coming from your heart. And that's the power of these questions when ChatGPT begins to interview you. Because when we're typing and we're writing things, it's all head knowledge. But when it asks you questions, it comes from the heart. And that is powerful. So here's tip number 2, using reflection style prompts to be able to help you find clarity using ChatGPT. You want to nudge ChatGPT into that interview mode by using prompts like, don't answer, just ask me reflection-based questions. Why is this important? Because ChatGPT will try to help you and please you and provide some type of answer. So just tell it, it's okay. I'm not expecting an answer. What I'm looking for is reflection-based questions. Another prompt could be, what do I need to explore more deeply before making a decision? Now, I do this a lot when I'm looking at tools. I will have ChatGPT ask me questions about how I'm going to use a prospective tool. And I tell it what I'm going to be creating and how often I'm going to be creating it. And I have it do a comparison of tools. And then I have it analyze and figure out which one of these tools and which one of the tiers best suits the use case that I presented, like how I'm going to use it. Because you've seen it. There's tools that have lots of tiers and we don't know which one to pick. First of all, it does a great comparison of features and price. Then it will look at how you're going to use it. And then it will recommend, based on your use, which tool is best for you. So that's a great way to do that. But it asks you questions about how you're going to use it. So I did this with some video tools. It asked me how many videos was I going to produce and how long were they going to be and so forth. So it can help you with that too. Another prompt you can use for that reflection style prompt is, help me unpack why I keep avoiding this next step in my business. We all have those things, right? That we know we need to do, but for some reason we're procrastinating. It can help you on this journey of self-discovery. Another prompt would be, ask me questions to clarify my ideal audience and what they really need. Now, this is a great prompt. And inside my private community, my members have access to custom GPTs that I created to be able to create their audience persona. But you can do this. You can have ChatGPT ask you specific questions about your audience so you can get more clarity as well. Here's another prompt. If I feel stuck writing my offer page, what questions could help me refocus? Again, ChatGPT can ask you specific questions about your product, about the pain points. It can ask you specific questions so you begin to answer, and you don't have to have a polished answer. You just answer, and you could be garble, it could be brain dump, and it will take that and refine it for you. Another prompt would be, I want to feel more aligned with my pricing. Can you help me reflect on what's holding me back? Or you can have it ask you what you're including in that product or service. What are the features? What are the benefits? And have it clarify and ask you even more questions about it, who it's for and how this helps and does it save time? It can ask you various questions about it so you can get more clarity on the benefits and the features of your product or service. So here's tip number 3. Tap into custom rules to shape deeper dialogue. So when you're doing this interview style with ChatGPT, you can give it a custom role. So it changes the lens through which ChatGPT sees your request. So here's a prompt example. Act as a branding coach. What should I be asking myself before I update my website homepage? And let it ask you questions so that you begin to uncover those things that should be on your homepage. Another prompt could be a workshop facilitator. Help me brainstorm and reflect on what to teach in my next webinar. So you can use it to help you brainstorm and ideate. Here's another prompt. As a strategic business advisor, what questions would help me identify hidden revenue gaps? So it can analyze things and ask you questions based on what you're trying to accomplish so that you can begin to think about some of those areas that maybe weren't obvious to you. There's so many things that we're doing all the time that it's really hard when we sit down to create to really focus and see it from all angles. What ChatGPT is doing is it's looking at this from all angles and asking questions to help you formulate clear messaging. Another prompt could be, you're a mindset coach. What limiting beliefs might be behind my resistance to showing up online? And it can begin to ask you questions, and you can begin to see if any of those are true about why you're procrastinating, maybe to create short videos online. Maybe you're procrastinating to have one-on-one calls with individuals. Maybe you're procrastinating to be on summits or on podcasts. Let ChatGPT help you by asking you questions. So it really becomes a way of having ChatGPT ask questions and become like a mirror for self-reflection. And that is powerful, and it's not often used. And what I've done, even beyond this, I have created custom GPTs that now have become like a business partner. My main one is Milo, and Milo is one of the first custom GPTs I created. And Milo is one that understands me really well. It has my business profile, my audience persona. It has my goals. It has my writing style. It knows about my past and some of the things, accomplishments. It knows everything about me. And so it will ask me questions. When I prompt it to, it will ask me questions about a new project, and it will help me ideate. It becomes very, very valuable. So when you practice this with ChatGPT, you can eventually create a custom GPT that could be very, very helpful. So when you use ChatGPT in a reflective way, it's not just echoing back something that you already know. It's not really cranking out maybe some answers that maybe aren't aligned to your business or your brand. It's really helping you in a journey of self-discovery. It isn't about shortcuts. It's about mining proprietary knowledge that's trapped in your head through digital dialogue. And we want to extract all of that because you have a lot of value and you have years of experience, and sometimes this gets buried, and there could be gold there. So here's the bottom line. You don't need more AI hacks. You just need to begin a conversation and have ChatGPT ask you questions, and you'll get better at this as you use it. You need to stop trying to find answers and instead invite better questions, having ChatGPT ask you questions. You create space for discovery, for clarity, for alignment, and your best ideas begin to emerge, because clarity isn't something that you can find in a search box. It's something that you uncover through reflection. And with the right prompts, AI can become that tool, and it can, in time, become a business partner. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. I would love that. And remember, begin to test and try using ChatGPT as a means of interviewing you, where ChatGPT asks you questions rather than producing answers, so that you can go on this journey of self-discovery and really extract some of that knowledge that's deep within your memories, but often doesn't surface to the top. So until next time, take care.